Hi everyone, and thanks for tuning in for the second of my series on euthanasia. Today I'm going to talk more about the process itself. For those of you who have had pets put to sleep, you'll know some of this stuff. But for those who haven't, it can be a bit daunting and a bit scary the first time. So going in forearmed with this knowledge hopefully will be helpful. So what is euthanasia? Well, basically it's a very peaceful process by which we give animals an overdose of an anesthetic medication called pentobarbital. It's the same one as Nembutal, which is used in human euthanasias and sometimes suicide. It's a very, very peaceful end to an animal's life. Basically, they fall asleep and then their heart stops quite quickly after that. People are often really surprised by how fast it happens, in fact. From the time we start injecting, it can be just a couple of seconds before they lose consciousness, and a couple of seconds later, often their heart has stopped. You can have your pet put to sleep in a clinic, obviously, but there's also the option of home euthanasia. There's lots of vets, home visiting vets. I'd actually do some of this work myself. Will come to your home and put your pet to sleep in the comfort of their own home, in their own space, which can be really nice because obviously for a lot of pets, going to the vet clinic is very stressful, and they associate it with vaccinations, or if they've been sick, potentially with feeling bad and possibly having lots of injections and medications and being away from their loved ones. So sometimes it's nice to be able to do it at home. One's not right or wrong. It's just important that you know that that's an option that's available. Now, my personal process is that I like to give sedation if the owner would like that. Often with home visits, I find that owners request a bit of sedation in advance. It just makes the pet really calm and helps make everything go really, really smoothly. I think the most important thing is making sure that everything goes smoothly. So I'll always put an intravenous catheter into the vein and then attach an extension set, which means that I can be remote from the animal when I actually give the injection, and the owner can be in there close to the animal, giving it a hug or whatever they want to do. After the process has taken place, there's a number of options that are available, and this will depend occasionally on the clinic that performs the euthanasia, but generally you can opt for the clinic to take care of it, which will mean that the animal would generally go to a general burial or a general cremation. Meaning they'll either be buried or cremated along with some other animals. If you wanted to take the animal home, theoretically, if you can legally bury your pet in your own backyard, you can do that, and most vets will be pretty good about releasing that to you without asking too many questions. Even though there may be some legal ramifications depending on where you live. Obviously, if you're in an apartment, that's a bit difficult. But the other option is an individual cremation. So that involves your pet being sent off to the crematorium and cremated, and you get the ashes back in a simple box or a simple urn or any kind of amazing marble decorated things that you can think of, just like for a human euthanasia. So hopefully that's giving you a little bit more insight into the process itself of euthanasia. Just things to bear in mind, again, to recap, are it's very, very, very peaceful. There's no suffering if it's done properly, and it does happen very, very quickly. One other thing I'd add, which I always warn owners about in advance, sometimes after your pet has actually passed away, about a minute or so later, it'll sound like they're having a breath. And it's just the muscles relaxing. It's often a minute or so after they've actually passed away. So be prepared that might happen. I prefer not to have to say it in the euthanasia process, because obviously it's often doesn't happen, and then people are worrying about nothing. But when it does happen and they're not forewarned, it's much, much worse. So I do usually mention that early on in the piece. Thanks very much for watching. Please consider visiting our sponsors, onlinevet.com.au and onlinepetscripts.com.au, where you can get affordable prescriptions for your pet's ongoing medications so you can buy them online.